day, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Joseph, thank you. In today's video, I would like to prove our Mandela effect video to be true. How? Well, if it's true there is nothing new under the sun, and if I can prove the essence of our video was done in the past through the scripture, we have no other choice but to mark the information as a plausible future event. Am I right about it? Somebody tell me if I'm right about it. Saying that, D. Jones, K. Mac, Mr. D. Leslie, allow me to ask you a question. When you read Uncle Ezekiel 28, 11 through 19 in the Septuagint, what do you perceive? What? I ask you first. Wait, I can't hear you because this is a video. Okay, you win. This time. I perceive the KJV has the world totally deceived on the Prince of Tyre. I perceive the process of taking a person or an angel from one dimension and bringing it to another has been done before. I perceive two different dispensations and punishments are being given. I perceive there are two entities being talked about and not just one. I perceive Tyre is not a cherub. I perceive Tyre was not created beautiful. I perceive Tyre is the spirit over makeup, plastic surgery, etc. You know, complete vanity. I perceive Yah accounts that type of vanity as wickedness. And that's just the start. Many things to prove with such little scriptures to deal with, huh? Mr. Williams, Mr. Hayes, shall we begin? Quote, "And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the prince of Tyre, and say to him, Thus says the Lord, Thou art a seal of resemblance, a crown of beauty. Thou wast in the delight of the paradise of God." Stop. Okay, thus far we know he is a pretty boy angelic prince and not a king. He was also in the garden of Yah. Alright, or the presence of Yah at one time. But here's where things get a little interesting. Quote, listen up. "Thou hast," what? "Thou hast bound upon thee every precious stone." Stop. What? Let me read that again. Quote, "Thou hast bound upon thee every precious stone." Well, what do you know? This guy had angelic plastic surgery. He wasn't created beautiful. He accessorized himself. He was vain as hell. But that's not nearly all. Let's continue. We're about to hear about all of the accessories he put on himself. Quote, "Thou hast bound upon thee every precious stone, the sardius, the topaz, the emerald, the carbuncle, the sapphire, the jasper, the silver, the gold, the lungre, the agate, the amethyst, the crystallite, the beryl, and onyx." Listen up. "And thou hast filled thy treasures and thy stores in thee with gold." Stop. I'm not going to even try and understand the physics of this. But what I do understand is he did this to himself and was not created this way like the KJV leads us to believe. But wait, Miss Sharon. You know what? This part is so exposing. Let me triple that up. But wait, Miss Sharon. But wait, Lance A. But wait, Miss Felicia. Not only was he not created this way, like the KJV wants us to believe, guess what? The KJV got us again. Because he isn't even a cherub, the KJV leads us to believe also. Check this out. Quote, "From the day that thou was created, thou was with the cherub. Stop! Let me read that again. Quote, from the day that thou was created, thou was with the cherub. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the Prince of Tyre is the cherub's road dog and not the cherub himself. He is an assistant, for the lack of a better term. But let's continue. Quote, I set thee on the holy mount of God. Thou wast in the midst of the stones of fire. It appears the mountain of God is within the stones of fire. Two different and distinct locations, and I will prove it. Quote, thou wast faultless in thy days, from the day that thou wast created, until iniquity was found in thee. Of the abundance of thy merchandise, thou hast filled thy storehouses with iniquity, and hast sinned. Stop. It appears the spiritual realm have trinkets as well. And it also appears he used an angelic form of capitalism. Why do I say that, you ask? Because the merchandise, iniquity, and sin are in hand. And everybody knows merchandise, iniquity, and sin equals the American way of life. Now comes the proof of the differences between the Mount of Yah and the stones of fire, and a big surprise. Let's continue. Quote, therefore thou hast been cast down, wounded from the Mount of God. Let me say that again. Therefore thou hast been cast down, wounded from the Mount of God. And the cherub has brought thee out of the midst of the stones of fire. Stop! What? Let me read that again. Quote, therefore thou hast been cast down, wounded from the Mount of God, and the cherub has brought thee out of the midst of the stones of fire. Stop. We have two dispensations, two different punishments in two different realms with two different entities. Let me try to explain. I was trying to find a way to say this, but Miss Rita said it best. Quote, yes, scribe, I will help you again. Yeah, I really... She didn't really say that. I just like messing. But let me go. Yeah, I really believe Eden was some hyperdimensional portal at the very least, but more like an area of time and space where our dimensions intersected with the Most High's. But after the fall, it changed. I believe this wholeheartedly. And if this section was looked upon with an analytical eye, this is exactly what happened then and exactly what we are talking about in the Mandela video. 3 heavens, 1 for Yah to chill, 1 for the angels to abode, and 1 for mankind. Yah does business in the angels' abode upon the mountain. It appears mind you, whoever became the king of Tyre, the Prince of Tyre, was thrown out of the office building, which is the mountain. As he walked the mean streets of Angel City, his boy, the cherub, found a way to take him from the fiery stone spirit world dimension to this dimension to do his dirty work here. Nothing is new under the sun, right? Allow me to ask you a question, Mr. Spice. Is this not the exact same intentions the inventor said and the book of Daniel prophecies and our Mandela video says? Take whatever resource from their dimension and bringing it to ours, and honoring and rewarding two beings no one in this realm knows anything about, with land and people? Yes it is. But wait, Miss Bridget, this was only the first punishment in dispensation. Now comes the punishment for his crimes in this dispensation. quote, thy heart has been lifted up because of thy beauty. Thy knowledge has been corrupted with thy beauty. Stop. What? Let me read that again. Quote, thy heart has been lifted up because of thy beauty. Thy knowledge has been corrupted with thy beauty. So, if we look at this with a quantum eye, one could deduce, I say. On one level, if we were to put this into modern terms, his plastic surgery didn't last. To say, quote, thy knowledge has been corrupted with thy beauty, can mean both knowledge and beauty were corrupted, and probably at the same time. On another quantum level, one could also deduce, mind you, his beauty actually corrupted his knowledge. In modern terms, I guess we could say the strong black goddess. You catching what I'm saying? I mean, chicks are not only in love with other chicks, they are in love with themselves the most. And most black males are following suit. But that is what to be expected. Why? Because it's the chicks that are raising the little roosters. Thus, they mold and form the very thing they dislike the most. And why it is so easy for him to come home to roost. But with this guy, whatever the end result is, it was his plastic surgery and accessories that made him think he was more than what he really is. Hey, wait. That also sounds like, well, never mind. And it made him filthy rich too. Which can mean he is behind all of the vanity and glamour in the world today. You know what? I can't help it. I can't help it. Guys. He just came. It's just coming out. Have you noticed lately how women will post a picture and actually comment on the picture themselves? You know, crap like, sexy as hell, I love my ... etc. What? This doesn't prove the two dispensations. I'm a fraud. Well, you didn't let me finish. In fact, here comes my proof now. Quote, because of the multitude of thy sins, I have cast thee to the ground. I have caused thee to be put to open shame before kings. Stop. I told you. How? Because being thrown out of the mountain of Yah and pulled out of the fire of stones by the cherub, and being thrown to the ground and openly shamed before earthly kings, are entirely different. One is in the spirit realm and the other is in our realm. But if you're still not convinced, and I know that you're not, let's continue. Quote, because of the multitude of thy sins and the iniquities of thy merchandise. Stop. What? Let me read that again. Quote, because of the multitude of thy sins and the iniquity of thy merchandise. So, as you can see, his sins were numerous and vanity merchandise were iniquities. We already went over how the good weave, that good weave, was sacrificed to a demon for some favors in India. But let's continue, shall we? Quote, I have profaned thy sacred things, and I will bring fire out of the midst of thee. This shall devour thee, and I will make thee to be ashes upon the land before all that see thee, and all that know thee among the nations shall groan over thee. Thou art gone to destruction, and thou shalt not exist anymore. Example. Well, this proves my two different punishments in two different dispensations, doesn't it? What? How? Duh. There is no bringing him out from ashes, people. I think that's kind of final, what we just read. And in this punishment, the earthly nations groaned over his loss, which can only mean we are probably looking at him or his earthly representation on television today. But before I let you go, allow me to show you just how plausible my conjecture of maybe the everlasting covenant the evildoers will break could be the rainbow. I mean, it is the only everlasting covenant Yah made with the entire earth. Humans, animals, plants, the whole 9 yards. That's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? That's a pretty big everlasting covenant, if you ask me. But when I heard this, it was another shekel on the scale. According to Geoengineering Watch, under bombshell, as Air Force openly admits HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, successfully controlled the weather. I'm going to cut to the chase. May 2014. Quote, while HAARP and weather control has been called a conspiracy theory by mainstream media and government officials, during a Senate hearing on Wednesday, David Walker, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force of Science, Technology, and Engineering, dropped a bombshell in an answer to a question asked by Lisa Murkowski in relation to the dismantling of the $300 million high-frequency active Aurora research program in something this summer. Walker said this is, personal quote, not an area that we have any need for in the future. It would not be a good use of Air Force research funds to keep HAARP going. We're moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HAARP was really designed to do, to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. But that work has been completed. Example. So as you can see, if you tinker with the ionosphere, everything that is umbrellaed under it will be affected also. To tinker with the ionosphere is the equivalent of tinkering with light itself, which is what a rainbow is all about, right? It is the truth. I don't know. Is it the truth? I don't know. Is it a plausible answer? Yes. Will you struggle with me through one last video before we move on? I don't know that either, but I'm asking you now. I want to give you some facts, and then the wildest plausible reason to why the monsters and giants and dragons that breathe fire are so pissed off. Deal? I can't hear your answer because this is a video. But if you said deal, thank you for looking at this video. Yah's will, look for the next soon.